live. So, hello everybody. Thank you for joining us if you're joining us live. Today we have got the gorgeous Raakhee with us, and we're talking about inspiration for content creation and kind of being able to get, inspiration for your kind of digital marketing, social media, blogs, like, emails, you name it. That's what we're talking about. And also Raakhee's going to be giving us some business eco tips as well, which will be awesome. So thank you for joining us, Raakhee.
Thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome. It's lovely to see you. So do you want to start by just sort of introducing yourself, what you do, and who you help and everything else, and a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, cool. So I'm Raakhee, based in the UK, as you can tell from the accent. I'm an eco blogger, and I started my eco blog, I think it was like January 2020, and it started with a lemon. So I wanted a lemon for something. I genuinely can't remember what I needed one for, but I went to a supermarket.
Gin and tonic.
Yeah, probably. And I went to the supermarket just to grab a lemon and some other bits and pieces. And the only option available to me was one of those plastic net bags of 5. I didn't want 5. I wanted 1. Mm-hmm. And I was getting a bit annoyed that the only option available to me was to buy more than I needed. Mm-hmm. And so, as you can imagine, I left empty-handed, and I think I went to a little shop around the corner and just bought a single lemon.
Yeah.
And on the way back, I just kept thinking that, this is actually encouraging food waste. I mean, I probably could have thought, I could have done something with the other lemons, but that wasn't really the point. Mm. So it kind of made me think about other areas in my life where plastic is an issue, food waste, and just the environment in general.
Yeah. So
the idea of the blog came from there. So I started going to litter picking. Obviously, this was just before lockdown.
Yes, yeah.
So I went on the litter pick, and then everything kind of, we were all locked down.
Yeah.
So it gave me the opportunity to write blogs. I'm not a writer. I don't think I am. But I didn't write the blogs thinking, I'm going to gain this massive audience. I was just writing for myself.
Yeah.
The things I was doing, because being eco-friendly, it's not always easy, but there are small changes you can make. Mm-hmm. So that's essentially the idea for the blog. And as a mum myself, I help other mums to become eco-friendly and adopt sustainable living practices in their home, toxic-free cleaning products and, ideas. And eco-anxiety is quite a big thing as well. And I don't think many people talk about it, especially when it comes to children as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm a mum myself. I'll help, but to be honest, I'll help anybody to get started. It doesn't have to be difficult. When I first started living sustainably, I tried to do everything in one go. It was so overwhelming, and I just, I crashed and burned. So I thought, right, I'm going to start with one little bit, and work from there. And that's the best way to be. Is just to start somewhere and then build from there.
Absolutely. I think when people try to do everything all at once, you get to the point where it is overwhelming, and then you think, sod it, I'll do none of it instead, So it is, I think that your whole ethos around starting small, building from there, and just sort of taking it step by step and doing things that are simple and convenient for you at the time. And then it kind of like, it begins to grow and snowball then. And before you know it, you're making the right choices without even thinking about it. And it becomes kind of embedded in your life, doesn't it?
That's it, exactly. It's creating habits.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I have noticed is that there's a lot of judgment when it comes to living sustainably. You're not doing things the right way, whatever that means. Everyone's circumstances are different. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it does come to, personal finances and everything like that. You can only do what you can do. Doing something is always better than not doing anything at all.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so I try to make sure that I don't have, it is completely zero judgment. Everybody's situations are different. Yeah. And I think that needs to be respected.
I agree with you. I mean, I'm part of, obviously, me being part of the vegan community, I can tell you all about judgment and stuff. And you know, people's different varying choices and decisions around, you know, what they do and what's convenient for them and stuff like that. But, you know, some people can't do all of everything. You know, you have to do what's right for you. And then, you know, at the end of the day, you do what you can when you can. And then when you learn better, you try and do better. And then it's sort of, you know, it grows from there, doesn't it? So I really like the fact that your ethos is all around, you know, supporting people when they're sort of starting to bring in those eco-friendly practices and starting with, you know, substituting things and making their own stuff, like you're, you know, make, do, and mend and upcycling and repurposing and like all of those sorts of things, because it can be, you know, it can be quite a journey for some people, can't it?
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of it actually comes down to ideas. So I've learned a lot from other mums, and I've had messages from people that, you know, I've suggested something and they hadn't even thought about. And I think that's really, really powerful, is when you're learning from other people and you're sharing the knowledge you have, it just, you know, we're all helping each other, and it just helps build a community as well.
Yeah, it's collaborative, and you've got that community, and, you know, which actually kind of is a nice segue into the you know, inspiration for content creation. So one of the things that that I find is when you are sort of aligned with your business and you are genuinely purpose-led, and, you know, your mission, let's say, is part of your business, then the content kind of starts to create itself, doesn't it? And you see inspiration everywhere because it's such a huge part of your life. So what are your thoughts around that? Because you're brilliant at just pulling content from out of thin air sometimes, do you know what I mean? So tell us about your process or whatnot.
Yeah, so I think doing it really helps, doing something you absolutely love, because it just, you know, it literally comes out your pores. So the things that I post about is stuff like you know, zero waste shops. I've got one local to me. I did a blog post and I loved it. That's the one in town centre.
Where is it? Where is it? I don't know where it is.
It's the one in Park Mall.
Oh, I've not even seen that. I'll have to go and visit there.
Next to Wilkinson's.
Oh, okay, cool. Me and Raakhee live in the same town, by the way, for anyone that doesn't know.
So ideas for repurposing. So I think it was last January. I wanted to grow, I think it was sunflowers, and I didn't have a propagator. And I didn't actually want to buy one. So I thought, okay, how can I make one? So I had one of those celebration tubs, and I had like a plastic lid from I think it was like cake or a cake we bought or something like that, and it actually fit on top. So that was perfect. And, you know, planted my seeds and kept them by the window and stuff like that, and that didn't cost me anything. So, you know, I post ideas about that, and I've had some really good comments on that one. Obviously it saves money as well, so that's all good. You're repurposing what you've got. I post about greenwashing, because I think that is quite a big issue.
Talk a little bit about that, because I think a lot of people don't know about greenwashing. And I know, like, I'm big on, you know, obviously being vegan as well. It's kind of like I spot it everywhere, and it really winds me up. So talk a little bit about that quickly, so that people know what we're banging on about.
So greenwashing is essentially a company who say they're doing, you know, their practices are helping the environment where they're not actually. So I'll give you an example, and I won't obviously name any brand names, but there's a brand that does clear tape, and their packaging it's in a cardboard box. Their packaging has like a picture of the earth, and you know, all the imagery that we want to see, and it's sort of like eco-friendly. So the box is recyclable, and the core, the cardboard core, is obviously recyclable as well. But the tape, so I looked it up online, and the tape can only be recycled in industrial composting plants,
right?
Which isn't in your usual curbside recycling. There's only about 50 odd in the country,
right?
Our local council don't do that. So the only place that's going to go is landfill. So when you look at the product on the shelf, you think, oh my God, I'm helping the environment and everything like that, because that's what whoever's created the packaging want you to believe.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of packaging nowadays are green, and they've got, you know, all the imagery that we want to see.
But actually, there's no, I mean, with trading standards and stuff, there is no, you know, they can put a picture of the earth, they can put pictures of leaves and things like that, and trees, and all make it all look like that. I mean, there's two companies, let's say cosmetics and toiletries companies that spring to mind, one of which we're using like, you know, like micro, do you know what I mean? For like micro beads, that's it.
Yeah.
You know, awful, obviously they're no longer, but like awful for the environment. So straight away you think you're going into a shop and making the right choice, but actually you're not, you're damaging the environment. And it's, I think there's, yeah, greenwashing is a right bastard, let's say. Anyway, back to content inspiration.
So I do a lot of I try and help people understand what greenwashing is, and I'll give examples without obviously naming brands, what to look out for and things like that. Testimonials from friends. So I posted an Instagram story a while back about deleting unwanted emails and stuff like that. So
we'll go into in a bit, yeah.
Which we'll come to in a bit. And my friend messaged me and said, I've just deleted 4,000 emails.
Yeah.
You know, and stuff like that, and knowing that, you know, and that doesn't cost anything.
Well, I think this is the thing. So for a lot of people, when they're thinking about testimonials for their content, they're thinking in terms of client reviews. But actually, if your mate messages you on WhatsApp and tells you that you've influenced them in a positive way, that is still a testimonial and a review. And you can say to your mate, oh, do you mind if I put this on social media? They're always going to say yes, aren't they?
Yeah.
And if they don't want you to, you know, you take their name out or whatever. But it's like, you know, I think that kind of thinking a bit more laterally about it, rather than just making the assumption it always has to be a client testimonial. I mean, on my old website, I had one from my mate Amanda just saying, I love you, babe, or something like that. And then Russell Brand as well, because when I was at a show, I shouted something at him and he went, yeah, you're right. So I just put, yeah, you're right, Russell Brand. It's a review. You know, exactly. So if you think, you know, think in terms of, think outside the box a little bit, for want of a better cliche, then
exactly. And I think that's really good, because you're helping people, and you know, by being able to see that as well. So, you know, the testimonials I've got, obviously I've said, you know, is it all right if I use it? I don't tend to put the name, but you know,
it also really does help bolster your authority, because you're you know, and your authenticity, because you are genuinely living what you do, and people need to recognize, you know, your core values. And you know, if you are practicing what you preach, then you know that's only going to lend to your ability to be authentic and have an authority in that kind of within your niche, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like last week I went for a coffee with my partner's aunt, and we were talking about, you know, plastic and everything like that, and she's kind of completely gone off plastic. And I said, look, plastic does have a place in society. It's single-use plastic that's the issue. And it was like a penny, and she goes, I didn't realize that. I didn't even think of it like that. And you know, these little things that, you know, if it helps my friends and family and everybody, I'm happy with it, you know.
Yeah, and there's another piece of content for you. Post about that conversation. It becomes part of the story, you know, and how you've helped somebody else to kind of have a light bulb moment and stuff like that. So, you know, in terms of creating content, I mean, for me as well, content's just everywhere, because when you are living your business and you're, you know, fully aligned with it and everything else, and you're focused on your messaging and your core values, the content can create itself. And if you're, you know, we all tend to go into this kind of like social media marketing strategy sort of person. We put a different head on. If that's not already your kind of within your remit, you've got to put a different head on if you're going down that route. And I think that messaging versus marketing in terms of strategy, you know, if you're struggling with content, you're sort of paralyzed for you know, and stuck for ideas, it's because you're focused too much on your marketing and not on your messaging. So always coming back to your core values and your messaging and what it is that you're trying to put out into the world, and staying in your lane in that respect is always going to yield better results than if you try to then, you know, put a different business head on, I think.
And it makes you authentic as well, because, you know, there's only one of you.
Yeah.
And you know, so that, so you're exactly. So I've never had anyone do me personally, I've never had anyone do my social media because I like to use my own voice. I like to use my own experiences, my own words and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So other stuff that I post is new blogs. So I publish a blog every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll publish about that. So I've got a blog coming up on Monday it's going out on Monday.
Yep.
And it's about eco-friendly menstrual products.
Yep.
So I'm very excited about that because that's
Yeah.
something that I wanted to write about for ages and I hadn't. So so that's coming out on Monday.
I mean, that's 2 birds with one stone as well. That's like you know, a taboo kind of subject as well. So I mean, I think you're going to have a real good response to that because it's not talked about enough, I think, in society, you know.
No, it isn't, and it needs to be. It needs to be normalized. And I mean, from growing up from a South Asian community, it was completely taboo.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably one of the reasons that stopped me from doing a review for so long.
Yeah.
So I'm kicking that taboo to the curb, and that's coming out on Monday.
Yeah.
Another great way is, you know, if you see a post that you really like, reuse that graphic. Mm-hmm. And make sure you tag whose graphic it is.
Yeah.
So for example, so I've got one. So actually I did one yesterday and I think it's going out next week. So, and obviously I talk about food waste. So due to inflation and food prices increases, the 5-second rule has been extended to 10 seconds. And I love that. Absolutely love that. So the person who posted it, I've obviously tagged them in it and was like, you know, I completely resonate with this, and just put your own, you know, spin
exactly
in it.
There's nothing wrong with sharing other people's content. If you know, it's like user generated content. As long as you credit you credit the creator, or you credit the person whose feed you got it from, and then you start to you then have a bit of a relationship with them, like we were saying earlier on, and you said on Instagram, you know, you shared something of somebody else, credited them, tagged them, and put your own spin on it, and then they then shared that to their stories and tagged you in their stories. So straight away your reach is increased and improved, because you're kind of, you know, out to each other's audiences. But also it's very, very collaborative. It's just, you know, and I think that's a beautiful thing. And us women are all about collaboration and community, you know, rather than competition. So I think that definitely doing that is creating the right impression, you know. It's part of your values as well, isn't it? So it kind of, you know, kills 2 birds or 3 or 4 or 5 birds with one stone.
Yeah, exactly. And you have no idea where that collaboration will lead as well. That could just be the start of it. I mean, I think it was last week or week before, I put a post on something about eco-friendly menstrual products, and this lady got in touch with me, and yeah, we're starting to collaborate now. So you know, that's fabulous, and that's only because she happened to see my post, and it's relevant to her industry with eco-friendly menstrual products. So you have no idea where it'll lead. Absolutely.
Yeah, you know, you never know who's lurking as well. That's the other thing, isn't it? Exactly. So having these conversations, you know, it sort of opens up opportunities.
Yeah, it really does. And I love the collaboration side of it is quite new to me. That's something I've never done before, but so I've started doing that. And if they're, I mean, you know, you will see posts where, you know, people are open to interviews. So, you know, I've just messaged a lady back. She emailed me over the weekend some questions, and I've messaged her back with the answers. And then the blog's going out on the 1st of April. So, you know, collaboration is it's good fun as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is why I do the lives, because it serves everybody. So it serves both of us, but it's collaboration, and it's also valuable information for other people that have got any, you know, that want to know about the topics that we discuss. Speaking of which, if anybody's watching live, or if anybody is watching on replay and you have any questions for either me or Raakhee, then tag us in the comments and ask away, and we'll come back to you.
Cool.
So yeah, what's next on your content?
So it's what I see when I'm out and about. So I went up to Leicestershire at the weekend, just walking through the high street, and I noticed one of those the iconic London red pillar boxes, and I noticed that on the top it's a defibrillator. Defibrillator.
I can't do it.
And I thought, what a fantastic way. I mean, I've seen it online, but I've never actually sort of seen it myself. And I thought that's such a great way to repurpose, because that pillar box would have been, or telephone box would have been just, you know, removed and probably sitting in scrapyard somewhere. and it's being used to potentially save a life. So yeah, I took pictures of that as well. I've got so many photos on my phone where I just go around and I was like, oh, that's a good idea, that's a good idea, that's a good idea. So I mean, it's when you're out and about, because that's why it's so important to do what it is that you really, really love, because you will see it everywhere.
Absolutely. Everything, you know, your life becomes your content, and it's just a case of documenting that, getting into the habit of thinking, oh, that, if you wait, you know, as soon as you spot something that's relevant, you think, oh, that's interesting, right, now create something from that, you know, or when you have a conversation or whatever it may be, you know, pull from those experiences. I mean, I think like Camille always says that she has a lot of creative kind of moments when she's out walking the dog, and I think that's the thing, all you need to do is record a voice note to yourself, you know, or take, if you've, you know, little notebook or something like that, take a photo, and then you've got it there. That's a piece of content straight away. You do that like a few times a week, you're laughing, really, aren't you?
That's it, exactly. So when it comes to the content, so I schedule Tuesdays, Thursdays and Fridays. So those are my set days, so I don't get inundated with trying to find content, because that in itself can be quite stressful. So pick 2 or 3 days a week, like a Tuesday or a Thursday or whatever's perfect for you, and just stick to that. If you have more content ideas that's relevant or time sensitive, then you can add to it. That's not a problem.
I agree with you. If you do, I think less is more. When you're posting for the sake of it isn't necessarily going to get you to where you want to be. But if you're creating, and you're putting too much pressure on yourself to create content constantly, but if you're creating 2 or 3 valuable, meaningful posts a week and you're scheduling them in advance, then straight away you can relax, you know, and you know that you've got that value there, you know that you're being consistent, you know, in your efforts and everything else. And then, yeah, you can organically post if something crops up, if you don't want to use it for future. And then I would say, you know, on Instagram particularly, that's going to be your stories, you know, your organic stuff, what you see out and about and everything else. And that's the bit myself in the cheek. The other thing is I did it last night and it's swollen, so I keep catching it. And the other thing is, so even if you spot something and you think, oh, that's going to be, you know, create some content for that, there's nothing stopping you from chucking that on your stories at the time and then creating the future content, because, you know, that's repurposing. It's like
exactly.
So it's getting into that habit, isn't it?
It is. It's actually just seeing. Is when you see, you're looking as well as seeing.
Yes.
You know, so for example, if I go to the beach or something, I see any like people litter picking, I'll take a picture. I mean, I've always got my phone on me anyway, so I'll take a picture.
I think most of us have, haven't we?
Exactly. So yeah, it's keeping an eye out for what you think, and if it is something that you think, oh, that's a good idea, but not quite now, just take a picture anyway, and then you've got it for when you're ready to use it. It doesn't have to be straight away. You could schedule it. I mean, there was something I saw for making Christmas bows out of paper that you've already got, and because a lot of Christmas bows and stuff like that got all plastic and everything like that. So I've taken a picture of it, of the how-to, and I might actually do a how-to actually. And I've put it in my little notes for end of November or probably mid-November. So when I come to it, I know it's there. Something with it.
Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So I think it's about being, you know, making that awareness for yourself, you know, actually looking with, you know, looking properly, as you say, seeing it and then documenting it, remembering to say, right, you know, I need to keep hold of this bit, this thing, because this is actually future content, you know, and you can create something, you know, quite valuable for people out of that. Some, excuse me, informative, educational, you know, or entertaining, or whatever kind of post it's going to be. Makes perfect sense to do that. So okay, cool. So let's move on to your eco biz tips.
So my tips. So the first one I've got is having plants in your workspace. They're really, really good way of purifying the air, especially not so much when the weather's lovely, because you can open the window and get some ventilation, but during the autumn and winter when it's really cold, you don't want to open your window. It's a really, really good way of just purifying the air and just, you know, keep it all going quite nicely.
Yeah, and cheeky bonus is good for your mindset. You know, having plants around you is good for your mindset. Taking care of something is good for your mindset and your soul. You know, so additional bonuses there.
So I've used to, I wasn't very good at taking care of plants. I was very, very good at killing them. But now I've found a way of watering them. So I water from the bottom up.
Yeah.
So I sit them in water for about half an hour. They drink exactly what they need, and then that's fine. And I haven't, because I think it was about 10 years ago, I had a little cactus. I killed it. I killed a cactus.
Killed it with kindness, overwatering.
I totally because I didn't know. I didn't know about bottom up watering. So so that's a really, especially for the environment as well. So a couple of tips that I've got to do within your business is to delete unwanted emails, and this includes like newsletters. Now, when we buy stuff, we somehow get onto automatic lists and stuff like that, and then you just get bombarded. If it's a newsletter that you're not interested in, just rather than just deleting it, unsubscribe to it, because each email has a carbon footprint. It might be very small, but it still has a carbon footprint. And when you've got emails in your inbox, even if it's in the inbox or in the subfolders, the more emails you have, the harder the data servers need to work to be able to keep those emails where they are, and then i.e. needs more energy. So delete,
then that has your digital, then that it has an impact on your digital carbon footprint.
That's it. So delete unwanted emails. Delete. I mean, I think my personal email address I've had for, I think, since 2000, and whenever anybody used to send me funny emails, I used to obviously have a laugh and just put it in a folder called funnies.
Yeah. And
it was only until recently, I think there was about 4,000 emails in there that I haven't looked at in years. I don't know what I need them for. So I just deleted the whole folder.
I need to do mine after, because I didn't know anything about this until you brought it into my orbit, and I've got it on my to-do list what I need to do, because I've got subfolders from jobs that I had 20 years ago. I don't need that. It's ridiculous. The amount of crap that I've kept is utterly ridiculous. So it's about going through and getting yourself into a habit of unsubscribing rather than simply deleting, and then delete your deleted. That's the thing, isn't it? You need to be regularly deleting your deleted folder. I think I had something like 6,000 odd in there, and then I was like, oh, Raakhee will tell me off. I better get them sorted out. So I think that's a really, really great way of reducing the carbon footprint is by doing that, and because it's something that people aren't familiar with. So hopefully that tip's going to help a lot of people.
Yeah. And it can be quite overwhelming when you look at your inbox, especially like personal ones, because when you work in a corporate environment, you kind of you're told to keep everything as a paper trail and stuff like that. And there are certain things you can keep, and there are certain things you don't need to keep. But particularly for your personal emails, especially nowadays when we get statements come through, everything's digital. You get a notification that a statement is available. That's great, but you don't actually need to keep that email. All you need to do is log into your account, as and when you need to look at the statement.
Yeah.
Another one I've got is print on both sides. So I do have a printer. I don't use it a lot, but when I do have a printer, I do print. And if I can, I will print on the other side. Obviously, if it's sensitive information, that needs to be shredded and discarded. But if you can print on both sides, that's a really good tip.
Yeah.
One of the things I've got is a staple-free stapler that I absolutely love.
They're bloody brilliant.
So it looks like that, and I bought it from eBay, and it can staple, so it doesn't use any staples at all. So you don't have to worry about it running out. And what it does is it bends in on itself. Mm-hmm. So like that. So it holds up to about 10 sheets.
Yeah.
You will never need to buy another one.
Yeah.
So that I think I bought that from eBay.
Yeah.
So I absolutely love that. Going paperless where you can is really good. I use QuickBooks for my online accounting.
Yeah.
A lot of the receipts I get obviously digital receipts, so I can just add it to that. I don't actually have to print anything off.
Yeah.
If you buy something in a shop, just take a picture of your receipt, send, and then just upload it to whichever accounting system you got. I think it's really helpful to have. So there's we obviously use Google for everything. But I have discovered a search engine called Ecosia. So it's Ecosia. And essentially what they do is it works very much like Google, just search as normal, and for your searches they will plant a tree.
That's amazing.
Advertising revenue to obviously plant trees, and it's brilliant. So I use Ecosia, and so far, I think it's every 45 searches they plant a tree. That's and I think amazing. I've had about 760 searches so far.
Wow.
So
I think you don't realize quite how much you Google things. I think, like, it's not until you remove the the ability to Google stuff that you realize just how often you use it. So that will all adds up very, very quickly if you're using Ecosia rather than Google to search things. I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's another thing, it's free to use. You don't have to sign up with it or anything like that. Maybe it's not, I wouldn't say it's as powerful as, Google is incredibly powerful. But my homepage is set to Ecosia, so whenever I search for anything, it comes up with Ecosia straight away, whereas before it used to be Google. And that's quite easy to set up. Another one more I've got is and always get tongue-tied with this, so it's a solar power battery bank. Solar powered battery bank.
Excellent. Okay. Excellent.
So it's one of these. So it's got solar panels on one side, and then you've got USB ports on the other. So I think those are tend to be marketed to campers, which I think is a little bit of a waste, because I've got two of these. One's downstairs. I'm using this one, and one's downstairs on the windowsill because it's a nice bright day and it's all being
out here, isn't it?
I know, exactly. So the sun is doing its thing. And then I plug my phone in to charge it. I don't have to use the electricity. And I think they're really, really good to have. And obviously that'll save you some money as well when you don't have to plug in your phone, and there's so many devices nowadays that we have to have charged up.
Kindle, there's so many things that aren't there. You don't realize just how much you use like USB charging ports. So I haven't actually got one. I've got my battery bank is a charge in the wall type situation, so I'll have to get a solar one. That's a bloody good idea.
But this one you can charge in the wall if you want, if you need something quick, or if you've
so it's a double bubble. That's brilliant.
Exactly. And it's got a flashlight as well, so obviously it's aimed at campers. So I really do like, that's why I've got two. So they just sit on the windowsill, and obviously days like this it's perfect. It's a bit more difficult when it comes to when it's not as sunny, but but that's why I've got two, because then if it sits on the windowsill a little bit longer, it's still doing its thing.
My friend who's here has just said that she sent one to her friend in Africa, so it makes sense, doesn't it? Obviously they got a little bit more sun over there though.
That's it, exactly. So I think I don't know how I came across them. I can't remember how I came, but now that I know about it, I can't stop shouting about it.
No, that's fantastic. Oh, awesome. I really hope this has been useful for people today, because I think that there's everybody, I feel like everybody kind of wants to try and do better, and everyone cares about the environment, everybody cares about future generations, and what we can all be doing to kind of like, I suppose, compensate for what's been done historically. It's very difficult. We can't sort of change the world, but we can certainly not contribute to the fact that it's kind of going that spout a little bit.
That's it. We can only do what we can do, and that's the most important thing. We can't do everything, but just do what you can do and share what you know.
Absolutely. Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us today, Raakhee. It's been
thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome. So what I'll do then, once I'll end the recording in a second and end the stream. If you want to, in the comments section, Raakhee, put your links to your you know, your blog, your mailing list, everything else that you've got going on. And I know you've got like freebie and everything else, so that'll be really useful for those that are interested. And then, as I say, anybody who's got any questions, if you're live and you've got questions, we'll come and have a look in a second. If you're watching the replay, just hashtag replay, and then tag Raakhee or I in it, and we can go from there and answer any burning questions that you might have.
Fabulous.
Fabulous. All right then, my darling. Well, we'll say goodbye to everybody. Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Bye.
And I will